Hey you, welcome back to Secrets with Maeve, the space for the conversations we usually keep to ourselves. I'm Maeve. Today we're talking about something I know so many of us struggle with in silence, why she loses interest when you chase and what to do. Instead, let's get into it. The more you chase her, the faster she disappears. And the moment you stop chasing is the moment she starts wondering why. I need you to sit with that for a second. You've been told your whole life that if you want something, you go after it. You pursue it. You fight for it. You prove yourself. That works in business. It works in sports. It works in almost every competitive environment. But in attraction, it can quietly destroy your chances. Listen to me carefully. Women are not drawn to effort alone. They are drawn to value, and value is never loud, desperate, or scrambling for approval. Value is calm, grounded, unmoved. When a man chases too hard, what he's really communicating isn't desire. It's uncertainty. It's, I'm afraid to lose you. It's, please choose me. And even if she likes you, even if she was initially curious, that subtle energy shifts the power dynamic. Now she feels like the prize and you feel like the applicant. Attraction doesn't thrive in imbalance. Here's what most men don't understand. When you stop chasing, you're not withdrawing affection. You're demonstrating self-containment. You're showing that your life is already full, that she would be an addition, not a rescue mission. Women are biologically and psychologically wired to assess stability, not just financial stability, emotional stability, social stability, identity stability. When you chase relentlessly, text constantly, over-explain, over-give, and over-pursue, you signal instability. You signal that your emotional state depends on her responses, and dependence is heavy. Now imagine the opposite. A man who expresses interest clearly and then goes back to his mission. He doesn't double text. He doesn't beg for reassurance. He doesn't panic when she takes time to reply. He assumes she'll either show up or she won't. That assumption alone changes everything because detachment, healthy detachment, creates curiosity. And curiosity is the seed of attraction. When you stop chasing, she starts asking questions in her own mind. Why isn't he blowing up my phone? Why does he seem so calm? Does he have other options? What is he focused on? Mystery begins where overexposure ends. And here's the deeper psychological layer most men miss. Women don't fall for men who need them. They fall for men who choose them. There is a massive difference. Needing says, without you, I shrink. Choosing says, with or without you, I stand tall. Which one feels safer? Which one feels stronger? Which one feels like a man she can emotionally lean into? When you chase, you subtly place her above you. When you don't chase, you stand beside her, and attraction happens beside, not beneath. This doesn't mean you play games. It doesn't mean you act cold. It doesn't mean you ignore her. It means you don't abandon your self-respect for access. A man who doesn't chase isn't passive. He's selective. He shows interest once, maybe twice, and then he watches her effort. He observes her investment. He lets her meet him halfway because a woman who's truly interested will, and when she invests even slightly, her brain begins to justify that investment. She becomes more emotionally involved because she's participating, not just being pursued. People value what they work for. If she never has to work for your time, your attention, your presence, she will unconsciously undervalue it. This isn't manipulation, it's human psychology. The man who doesn't chase isn't harder to love. He's harder to access, and access creates appreciation. So before you send that extra message, before you over-explain why you care, before you try to convince her to see your worth, pause. Because the moment you stop chasing is the moment she has space to move towards you. And attraction only grows when both people move. Let me tell you something. Most men never hear from a woman's mouth. When you chase too much, it doesn't make us feel loved. It makes us feel pressured. There's a silent shift that happens when a man overpurs. At first, it feels flattering, the attention, the consistency, the validation. But very quickly, admiration turns into expectation, and expectation turns into emotional weight. And women are incredibly sensitive to emotional weight. When your energy says, I need this to work, we feel responsible for your feelings. We feel like if we pull back even slightly, you'll collapse, get upset, or start overcompensating. That pressure kills excitement. Attraction needs space to breathe. A man who doesn't chase excessively sends a completely different signal. He says without words, I enjoy you, but I'm not depending on you. That emotional independence feels safe. It feels mature. It feels grounded. Here's the truth. Women are drawn to men who feel emotionally self-sufficient, not cold, not detached in a careless way, but steady. When you're steady, you don't react impulsively. You don't panic if plans change. You don't interrogate her about who she's with. You don't turn one delayed text into a personal rejection. You remain centered. And that centered energy does something powerful. It makes her lean in because now she's not managing your emotions. She's exploring her own. Do you know what happens psychologically when you stop chasing? The dynamic shifts from you proving yourself to her qualifying herself to you. And that shift is magnetic. When a woman senses that you're not scrambling for her approval, she starts wondering if she measures up. She starts investing more thoughtfully. She starts paying attention to how she shows up. And when she invests, she attaches. But if you chase endlessly, you rob her of that opportunity. You fill every silence. You answer every doubt before she even feels it. You eliminate mystery. You eliminate tension. And tension, healthy tension, is what fuels desire. Think about this carefully. When something is always available, always reaching, always eager, it becomes predictable. And predictability in early attraction reduces emotional intensity. But when a man has standards, when he has his own schedule, when he doesn't rearrange his entire life to accommodate someone he barely knows, it signals abundance. And abundance is attractive, not because women want arrogant men, but because abundance suggests choice, and choice suggests value. If you behave like she's your only option before she's earned that position, you unconsciously lower your perceived value. It's not cruel, it's subconscious. Women are constantly evaluating even when they don't realize it. They're asking, is this man secure in himself? Does he have a life? Does he respect himself? Would other women want him? A man who doesn't chase communicates yes to all of those questions without saying a word. Now, here's something deeper. When you chase, you're operating from fear. Fear of losing her. Fear of not being enough, fear of competition, and fear-based behavior is always reactive. But when you don't chase, you're operating from choice. Choice feels powerful. Choice feels grounded. Choice feels masculine in a way that's calm, not aggressive. And women are drawn to calm strength more than loud pursuit. You don't need to flood her phone. You don't need to constantly remind her you're interested. One clear expression of desire is enough. After that, let her energy meet yours. If she's interested, she will step forward. If she doesn't, chasing won't change her mind. It will only bruise your ego. A man who doesn't chase understands something crucial. Attraction cannot be negotiated. You cannot convince someone to feel chemistry. You cannot logic someone into desire. You cannot overgive your way into being chosen. But you can make yourself undeniably attractive by being grounded, self-contained, and selective. When you stop chasing, you force clarity. And clarity saves you months, sometimes years of emotional confusion. Because the right woman doesn't need to be chased endlessly. She needs to see that you're strong enough to walk beside her, not run behind her. There's something you've probably never admitted out loud. Sometimes when you chase, it's about proving you're worthy. And that's the silent trap. When you over pursue a woman, when you try too hard to impress, to entertain, to reassure, to secure her attention. You're often trying to quiet a deeper voice inside you that whispers, "Don't lose this. You might not get another chance." But women can feel that energy. We can feel when a man's interest comes from abundance and when it comes from scarcity. Scarcity feels urgent. It feels restless. It feels like pressure disguised as passion. And even if she can't explain it logically, her instincts register it. Abundance, on the other hand, feels calm. A man who doesn't chase moves differently. He's not rushing to lock things down. He's not trying to secure constant validation. He's observing. He's experiencing, he's allowing the connection to unfold naturally. And that patience is powerful because here's what most men don't realize. When you chase hard, you unconsciously remove the challenge. You remove the uncertainty. You remove the emotional tension that makes her wonder, and wonder is everything. When she doesn't know exactly how much you like her, but she knows you're interested, her imagination fills the gaps. She thinks about you more. She replays conversations. She questions whether she impressed you. But if you make your feelings overwhelmingly obvious through constant pursuit, there's nothing left to discover. Mystery disappears. And mystery is oxygen for attraction. Now, understand this clearly. I'm not telling you to play games. Games are rooted in manipulation and insecurity. I'm talking about self-control. Self-control is deeply attractive when you don't instantly react, when you don't overshare too soon, when you don't rearrange your priorities to accommodate someone who hasn't yet earned that level of access. You demonstrate boundaries. Boundaries are magnetic, because boundaries communicate self-worth without arrogance. A man who doesn't chase excessively is saying, "I like you, but I also like myself." And that balance creates tension in the best possible way. Women are drawn to men who are emotionally disciplined, not emotionally suppressed. Disciplined. There's a difference. Emotional suppression is cold and disconnected. Emotional discipline is warm but measured. You can smile at her, compliment her, show genuine interest, but you don't flood her with constant attention. You don't overinvest before she does. You don't treat early dating like a commitment interview. Instead, you move with rhythm. You allow pauses in conversation. You let her initiate. Sometimes you give her the space to miss you. And when she misses you, she feels. Here's something subtle but crucial. Attraction grows in absence. When you're always there, always available, always responding instantly. You eliminate the space where longing develops. And longing is what transforms interest into desire. If she never has time to wonder what you're doing, if she never experiences a small moment of uncertainty about your availability, her emotional investment stays shallow. But when you're focused on your own life, your goals, your friendships, your growth, you become dynamic. You become layered. You become intriguing. A man who doesn't chase is often a man who has purpose. And purpose is intoxicating because it signals that you're building something bigger than a relationship. It signals that you're not looking for a woman to complete you. You're looking for someone to complement you. And that distinction changes everything. Women don't want to feel like your entire world. That sounds romantic, but it's suffocating. We want to feel chosen by a man who already has a world. When you stop chasing, you stop shrinking yourself around her, you stop performing for approval, you start standing fully in your own identity. And ironically, that's when she starts stepping closer, because the man who doesn't chase isn't running away. He's simply walking at his own pace, and confidence has a pace. It's steady, it's deliberate, it's unhurried, and women are drawn to that rhythm more than you've ever been told. Let's go deeper, because this is where most men get uncomfortable. When you stop chasing, you risk losing her. And that fear, that's exactly why most men never try it. You think, if I don't keep pushing, she'll forget me. You think if I don't stay on her mind, another guy will take my place. You think constant presence equals security, but real security doesn't come from pressure. It comes from positioning. Here's the hard truth. If the only way you can keep a woman interested is by chasing her nonstop, she was never truly interested to begin with. Chasing doesn't create desire. It exposes imbalance. When a woman genuinely feels something for you, she doesn't need to be convinced. She doesn't need daily persuasion. She doesn't need emotional ovary. She feels pulled toward you naturally. And when you stop chasing, you reveal whether that pull exists. That's powerful because now you're not forcing the dynamic. You're testing it. A man who doesn't chase understands leverage, not manipulation, but leverage created by self-respect. He knows his time has value, his attention has value, his emotional energy has value. And when you treat your attention like it's unlimited, people treat it like it's cheap. But when your attention is selective, it becomes meaningful. Think about this. What feels more special? Attention that's given to everyone or attention that's earned? Women feel that difference immediately. When you don't chase, your compliments land differently. Your invitations feel intentional. Your presence feels chosen, not automatic. And that changes how she experiences you. There's another psychological layer here most men ignore. Women are constantly evaluating emotional leadership, not dominance, not control. Leadership. Emotional leadership means you're not swayed by every mood shift. You're not reactive to every delay. You don't crumble under uncertainty. You stay steady. When you chase, you're often reacting. She pulls back. You lean forward. She delays. You double text. She becomes distant. You overcompensate. That reaction cycle signals emotional dependency. But when you don't chase, you break that cycle. She pulls back slightly. You remain consistent. She takes time to respond. You continue living your life. She tests your boundaries. You calmly hold them. That steadiness is rare, and rare is attractive because most men compete through effort. Very few compete through composure. Composure makes a woman feel like she's dealing with a man, not a boy, seeking validation. And here's the irony that will hit you hardest. When you chase less, she often invests more. Why? Because human beings are wired to value what they invest in. If she has to initiate sometimes, if she has to plan occasionally, if she has to wonder where she stands just a little, her brain begins attaching value to you. Her effort creates her feelings. But if you do all the work, all the initiating, all the emotional heavy lifting, she remains passive, and passive people rarely develop deep attachment. Chasing turns her into a spectator. Not chasing invites her to participate, and participation builds connection. Now, this doesn't mean you disappear. It doesn't mean you withdraw affection as punishment. That's insecurity disguised as strategy. It means you operate from standards. You expect reciprocity. You expect respect. You expect balanced energy. And if it's not there, you don't argue. You adjust. That adjustment alone speaks volumes. Because the man who can walk away from imbalance is the man who commands genuine desire. And when a woman senses that you could leave, not out of anger, but out of self-respect, she looks at you differently, not with fear, with curiosity. And curiosity, once again, is where attraction begins to deepen. When you stop chasing, you're not risking connection. You're filtering for it. Now, I'm going to tell you the part that changes everything. When a woman is truly drawn to you, you won't have to chase her. You'll feel her moving toward you. Not loudly, not dramatically, but consistently. She'll text back with substance. She'll ask questions. She'll suggest plans. She'll make time. She'll lean in emotionally. And most importantly, she'll make it easier for you to lead. Attraction that requires endless pursuit isn't attraction. It's uncertainty. And uncertainty can keep you addicted for months, even years. You start confusing anxiety with chemistry. You start mistaking the thrill of the chase for genuine connection. You think the struggle means it's valuable, but real desire feels different. It feels mutual. A man who doesn't chase understands that he is not here to convince someone to choose him. He is here to see who naturally aligns with him. That shift in mindset is everything, because the moment you stop trying to win her over, you start evaluating whether she even deserves access to you. And that energy, that quiet evaluation, changes how you carry yourself. Your posture changes, your tone changes, your pace changes. You're no longer performing, you're selecting. And women feel that shift immediately. There's something deeply attractive about a man who is not desperate to be chosen. It signals emotional maturity. It signals self-rust. It signals that his identity isn't hanging on one person's approval. And here's the deeper layer. Most men never consider. When you chase constantly, you're telling her she's rare and you're replaceable. When you don't chase, you're communicating that connection is rare and both of you are evaluating it. That equality creates respect. Respect is the foundation of lasting attraction. Without respect, you might get attention. You might even get temporary excitement, but you won't get deep desire. You won't get long-term investment. And women don't commit deeply to men they don't respect. The man who doesn't chase isn't emotionally unavailable. He's emotionally anchored. He can express interest clearly. He can flirt confidently. He can plan intentionally, but he never begs. He never pleads. He never negotiates his value, and that's the key. You don't have to withdraw warmth to stop chasing. You simply stop overextending. You allow silence to exist without panic. You allow her to initiate without feeling threatened. You allow space without assuming rejection. And in that space, her true interest reveals itself. If she steps forward, you build together. If she stays still, you walk away with dignity. That's power, not power over her, power over yourself. And that kind of control is magnetic because it's rare. Most men are reactive. They move based on fear. They text based on anxiety. They pursue based on insecurity. But the man who doesn't chase moves from clarity. He knows that the right woman will not require constant pursuit. She will reciprocate energy. She will show effort. She will meet him halfway. And when she does, he gives fully, but only then. Now, I want you to be honest with yourself. In your last connection, were you choosing her or were you trying to prove you were worthy of being chosen? Here's your personal equation. Self-respect plus emotional control equals sign attraction. Desperation plus overchasing equals sign distance. Which side have you been living on? Tell me in the comments. Have you ever lost someone because you chased too hard? Or did you gain respect when you finally pulled back? If this opened your eyes, like the video, subscribe, and share it with a friend who needs to hear this truth. Because sometimes the strongest move a man can make is simply standing.